All right, so we are continuing with the amazing teachings of Rabbi Nachman from Breslov, and for tonight's class, we're in Sichot Haran, paragraph Nun Gimel 53, and we're talking about Emunah. Tonight's class is about Emunah, and how Emunah is not just a regular mitzvah, that our survival is dependent on our Emunah. Okay? And we're going to see that it's not just like believing in an intellectual sense. We're talking about believing in an emotional sense, in a conscious sense, and that without having your emunah in a conscious way, so then your life is really not going to be okay. And how really I would summarize today's class by saying that really emunah is something that we get much more out of it than Hashem gets out of it. That Emunah is something that it's just, if you want to have a good life, so Emunah is the way to go. And we're so fortunate that Hashem gave us this mitzvah of Emunah, because it's only through this mitzvah that we're able to make it, and we're able to have our sanity and our mental health, and just be able to go through whatever life is going to throw our way. So he writes like this: Mi sheyesh la emunah, a person that has emunah, chayav chayim, then his life is a life. Then you have a life. Okay, so if anybody ever tells you, get a life, so that's his way of saying, have emunah. So chayav chayav, v'hu mevala yimei chayav b'tov tamid, and every day, so he's just living it up. He's not much living it up. He has constant goodness. When things are good, when life is going the way he would have wanted, then certainly things are good. Certainly it's good for him. But even if it's not good, that things don't go the way he would have wanted. He suffers. If you have emunah, so even when you have suffering, so your life is still good. Because even when he's suffering, he knows, if you have emunah, then you know that at the end it's going to be good. That you know that Hashem is going to have compassion. You know that there's somebody up there that's taking care of things, and you know that it's not crazy. That it's not the end. And now he says that because everything is from Hashem, so certainly everything is for the best. But the person that God forbid doesn't have emunah, chayav enam chayim klal. His life is not a life. His life, that can't be considered, like we said last week, that he says somewhere that the Welt sagt that they know that there's olam hazeh, and they believe in olam haba, that they know that there's a this world, and they believe that there's a next world. So Rabbi Nachman says that I know that there's a next world. I believe that there's a this world. I believe that there's olam hazeh. Everything I've seen until now is hell. It's all Gehenna. Like I've never seen any olam hazeh. I believe it says that there's such a thing as olam hazeh. I believe there's such a thing as olam hazeh. He knew very well. He knew a lot about suffering. Rabbi Nachman, unfortunately, had a great deal of suffering in his life. He had children that died. He had his first wife that died. He had controversy. He had people literally kicking him out of the city. He had people that like death threats. It was mamash gefährlich. And he himself died at 39 from tuberculosis. He didn't have an easy life. And so he knows that life is full of suffering. That it's something that it's part of the human experience. We can't escape suffering in this world. And so if you're not going to have emunah, so that the moment things don't go the way you would have liked them to go, so then it really sucks. It's really messed up. And chayav einam chayim, your life is not a life. Your life is over. When something is wrong, so that everything is over. How are you going to comfort yourself? How are you going to? You don't have emunah. That you're going without Hashem. You're not living with Hashem. And you're not living with the consciousness of the fact that Hashem is taking care of you. Now I see over here in this line, I see that he's not just talking about atheists. He's talking about these people that they're officially believers, but they're practically atheists. They're like they go to shul, they put on tefillin, and they keep Shabbos. they keep kosher, but when it comes to their practical life, when it comes to how do they actually react when things happen to them, they're atheists. They react the exact same way that an atheist would react, and that's because if you have Emunah, then it's not that bad. Like people that feel hopeless, being hopeless and knowing that there is a God are two contradictory emotions. It's completely impossible if there's a God. It's completely impossible to be hopeless because Hashem can do anything. So a person can feel hopeless. A person can feel that he was wrong. A person can feel that a person feels that somebody got the job that I was supposed to get. The person feels that this wasn't supposed to happen to me. I don't deserve this. And these things are antithetical to having Emunah. If whatever happened to you was exactly what is supposed to happen to you. It could be that it's painful, but there's no mistakes. There's no mistakes. So a person can be a officially Orthodox Haredi person and practically atheists. And I think the Rebbe Nachman is talking about these people as well. But through Emunah, so we have a Geschmack Leben. We have a good life. So I want to speak about how precisely it is that Emunah is beneficial to our lives. How it adds to our lives, and how that it's mamish. We're so fortunate. We're mamish very lucky that Hashem gave us this awesome thing called Emunah, because it actually helps us survive in a way that to get through the hard times and to get through all the times. Okay, so number one. So that if there's a God, so we know that nothing happens by mistake. Right? This is a very basic thing. To know that there's a purpose, to know that there's a meaning. Okay? If you have a knowledge, if you have a consciousness of Hashem, we can start with very basic. If there is a God, then things have meaning. If Chas v'Shalom there's no God, then everything is actually meaningless. Okay, so if the world came just randomly by a bunch of random evolutions, and the world came about just as a freak of nature, and it didn't have to be, so then there is no guiding force. There's no mastermind behind everything that's going on. And when things happen that aren't pleasant, so then that's just painful. It's just painful. There is no meaning. There is no meaning. As opposed to if there's a God, so it's actually more than that. It's that if there's a God that loves you, if there's a God that cares about you, so then if he gave you some test, if he gave you some struggle, so then for sure there's a reason. Then for sure there's a reason why. Why he did it. It's in some way it's good for you. In some way this is going to help you. In some way this is exactly what you needed. This is exactly what's going to put you into the place that you need to be, to prepare you for the rest of your life, to get you exactly where you want to get, whatever it is. So this is something that Viktor Frankl will talk about a lot. I think we spoke about this before, that he would be fond of quoting from Nietzsche that a person that has a why can overcome any how. A person that has a reason, a person that understands why he's going through something, so it doesn't matter how difficult the situation is, if you have a why, you can overcome any how. And this is something he would speak about. He would speak about somebody that from his experience in the concentration camps, that there was a person in his camp, in his bunk, that he was in a very difficult part of the concentration camp, that was the place with the most executions, the most humiliations, the most yelling, the most beatings, and this person was there of his own volition. This person, he wanted to be there. What's the story? That he found out that his wife was supposed to be there. So he knew that his wife was a fragile woman. He didn't think that she would survive. So he bribed the SS officers to be able to switch with her. He wanted to be there. And so now this guy, every time that he was being beaten, so what was he thinking? He was thinking that I'm saving my wife from this very experience. That there's a meaning to my pain. And because there was a meaning to his pain, even though he was suffering, but emotionally, he was happy. Because he found meaning in his pain, so he told Frankl, "You can call me crazy, but I'm a happy man." He actually found that there's something pleasant in the fact that he's going through this meaningful pain. Hello, good to see you. So So a person that has Emunah knows that there is a meaning for everything, and so there's certainly no reason to complain. There's no reason to whine, and because everything is under control, so nothing happens by accident. Everything that happened is exactly the way it was supposed to happen. For whatever the reason is. There's a person that came to the Chavetz Chaim, and he was complaining about his life, and he said as a joke, as a bitter joke, that it'd be mutter for it to be a tiny bit less painful. Like it would be permitted, like Hashem could find some heter to make my life a tiny bit less painful. And the Chavetz Chaim, he got upset. And he said, Chas v'shalom, if it would be mutter for it to be even a tiny bit less painful, then there's no doubt that Hashem would make it a tiny bit less painful immediately. Hashem loves you more than you love yourself. If there would be any way in the entire universe that it could be a tiny bit less painful, that there's no doubt that Hashem would be the first one to make it a tiny bit less painful. And so if we're going through something, so we know that it needed to be like this. And why did it need to be like this? So we'll never know. We never know, and it doesn't matter. It could be it's because of Gugulim. Because it could be we did something bad in a previous lifetime. It could be that it's preparing us to be that the person that's going to help the people that are going through the situation. It could be that it's because of it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. All that matters is that we know that whatever is exactly the way it's supposed to be. It couldn't be better. It mamish couldn't be better, and that knowledge that it couldn't be better, so that gives a certain element of peace. In Buddhism, they talk about the difference between pain and suffering. That the pain is the objective, the objective discomfort that you're going through, and suffering is the story you tell yourself. Is like the suffering. It's possible to completely escape suffering. It's completely to live a life that's without any suffering. It's possible to live without pain, but it's possible to completely escape suffering. And so Rabbi Nachman talks about this somewhere else, that all of our suffering. So where does it really come from? It actually comes from this feeling that it should be better. When we're like, you ever notice that sometimes something hurts, like even a physical pain, emotional pain, whatever it is. So the first day it hurts a lot, but then as time goes on, so it hurts less, right? So we call this, you get used to it, right? But what does it actually mean? What does it mean to get used to something, right? So I'll tell you what it means. That the first day, so you had a certain amount of pain, and you were comparing it to yesterday. Yesterday I wasn't in pain, and tonight I'm in pain, and I'm feeling this dissonance between the way it's supposed to be and the way it is, and that dissonance is incredible. So that's an incredible pain. And a couple of days later, so I'm more distant from before the pain, so I'm more in a state of mind of it is what it is. And so because it is what it is, I'm no longer comparing it to what it used to be. Like the feeling of not being in pain is already a distant memory. I'm no longer comparing it. And so it actually hurts less. It actually hurts less. That as I get used to it, so I'm more distant from the feeling of not being in pain. So the feeling of being in pain is simply it is what it is. A person that was born with pain, so that's all they know. So it's not as painful as the person that was living a painless life and then suddenly he's in incredible pain. Meaning a lot of that. So that's what's called suffering. Suffering is that I'm comparing what I'm experiencing to what I think I should be experiencing, and that comparison, that dissonance, is what caused me unnecessary pain. So when I know that everything's from Hashem, when I know that everything is exactly the way it was supposed to be, it couldn't have been otherwise. It couldn't have been otherwise. When I know that this is exactly what it was supposed to be, it's the exact same thing when a person suffers a loss. When a person suffers a loss, any kind of loss, whether this is a loss of a relationship, whether the loss of a loved one, whether it's a loss of money, of possessions. So the loss is always, the feeling, the suffering, the pain of the experience is always because I think that I should have this. The reason why it's hard for me is only because I deep down believe that I should have had this, and it's so sad that I don't have this. Like it was in my hands. And if a person chas v'shalom, a child dies early. So what's so painful? What's so painful is that like he should have had a bar mitzvah, he should have had a wedding, he should have had a family, and like hold on a second, no, he shouldn't have. That wasn't in the plan. There was no wedding that didn't happen. This is exactly what was supposed to be. So it's everything you have is a blessing. Whatever is there, you have that. Whatever, however long this person was in your life, that's a blessing. Whatever it wasn't, it was never supposed to be. There wasn't any. It's such a shame that he never got married. There was never a marriage that was meant to be. Yeah.
So you don't think there's like any like wiggle room, any gray area of like where you were saying earlier, like can things also happen randomly and there be God? Or does it have to be like, oh, there's God, so things don't happen randomly? I
firmly believe that it's completely impossible for anything to happen without Hashem's will. Okay, there is a discussion. For transparency, there is a discussion if can one person's free will overcome Hashem's ultimate plan. Meaning, if there's an evil person that wants to kill somebody, it's a huge discussion. I don't want to get into the details and the proofs, but it's the can one person's free will overcome Hashem's plan? So that there is a discussion about this, and to me, it's a foreign idea to think that Hashem wants a person to live, Hashem wants a person to have a good life, and because of his desire for there to be free will, he'll allow the person to die early. It doesn't work with me. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't believe that Hashem would allow such a thing. I think Hashem can work it out that everything that he wants is going to happen, and he's not going to allow some disgusting evil jerk to mess up his plans. Okay, so this is the first element of comfort. The first element of comfort of Emunah is the Chayiv Chayim, is that the way that Emunah helps us deal with suffering is that we know that there's a purpose to everything. We know that there's a purpose to all the pain. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter what the purpose is. I sometimes feel when people want to know why something is happening. So it's like it's coming from a bad place. It's coming from a lack of Emunah. When people want to know, like a lot of times people tell me, like, do you know a Kabbalist I could speak to? Like, I want to, things have been happening, like really weird stuff, and like I want to know why it's happening to me, and like so the truth is that it's coming from a place of control. It's coming from a desire for control. Like I want this. Like I know that this is that I if I go speak to a Kabbalist, like I could just undo the curse and then I'll be good. And the truth is that a perspective of Emunah is that whatever is happening to me, so I'm not going to just avoid it, not going to be in denial. I'm going to talk to Hashem and say, Hashem, what do you want me to do from this situation? How can I grow from this situation? How can I deal with the situation? And not just like try to like be on the defense and like how can I deflect what Hashem is trying to do to me? Like to know that Hashem and me are on the same side, we're on the same team. And to ask myself instead of like how can I try to outsmart Hashem, to ask myself that what is Hashem trying to tell me?
Like let's say you have let's say a child, right, or a really good friend, and you're like in a part of your relationship where you're like I wouldn't say suffering, but there's something going on. Maybe you've gone to an unhealthy way of communicating with your really good friend that you love, like your lifelong friend. And where's the question is about like what level of hishtadlut do you do? Do you just have
This has nothing to do with hishtadlut. And of course you should do it. You should do a top. You should do a top level of hishtadlut. My question is not about hishtadlut. My question is the first thing that you should do when somebody is in a problem is to ask yourself, how can I fix it? But what I was saying about going to a Kabbalist when things that there is nothing to do. We're talking about things that they're just random things that I also got. There was a burglary in my house, and I mean, if you don't lock the door, so maybe you should. That's a message to lock the door. But if you and I also tripped and broke my leg, and so if you actually aren't careful when you're watching, or when maybe you don't tie your shoelaces. Maybe this is Hashem's way of telling you that maybe you should tie your shoelaces. But let's assume that there's nothing to do. You did everything right. And still you want control, right? So the question is that when there is no ishtadlut to do, so what's my response? Is my response to know that Hashem is on my team, to know that Hashem loves me, and He's trying to tell me something, He's trying to put me into a situation, the best situation for me? Or do I try to fight it? Do I try to say, like, Hashem, why do you hate me? Like, there must be something, there must be some bug in the system. That's a response lacking emunah. Okay. So this is the first element. The first element of emunah is that when I know that there's a God. So when I know that there's a God, so I know that everything has a purpose, and this is that knowing that there's a purpose to all of my pain. So this is mamish. It takes away all of the suffering. It takes away all of the unnecessary anguish that in going through tough times, and to know that this is exactly the way it was supposed to be. That it couldn't have been otherwise. This is with everything. This also helps us to help people with jealousy. To know that Hashem sends me my mission in life, and Hashem sends other people their mission in life, and so we can never ask ourselves it's not fair that they have so much money and I don't have so much money, that they have this amazing career and I don't have this amazing career. Hashem knows what He's doing, and Hashem gave me my life because He wants me to be the superstar of my life, and Hashem gave them their life because Hashem wants them to be the superstar of their life, and the world would not be complete without them. The world would not be complete without me, and everything is exactly the way it was supposed to be. So there's no room for jealousy. There's no Hashem needs us all, and everything has a reason. Everything has a meaning. Okay, there's another element which is a little bit similar to the first element of purpose and meaning, and that is that when I know that there's a God, so then I know that everything is under control. And when I say under control, what I mean is that everything is actually okay. Or in other words, that I'm going to survive. I can make it through this. There's the first idea was more regarding how to respond to suffering. The second point is more regarding how to respond to anxiety. Okay, because a person has a tendency to freak out. A person has a tendency to think that I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can survive. I don't know if what's going to be. And this is actually what Rabbi Nachman speaks about extremely clearly. That he knows that Yirachim alav lahaba v'yetev lachriso. You know that there's going to be a good ending. You know that everything Hashem didn't forget. Like somebody once said a metaphor that people go to amusement parks, and amusement parks, so they have these really, really scary roller coasters, right? And so you have this huge drop, and then everybody's like this, everybody's whoa, and is anybody scared that they're going to die? No, it's fun. It's fun. If you're actually scared you're going to die, you wouldn't do it, right? So a person who's what? You're sometimes scared. Okay. You have to stand up against your peer pressure. Okay, if you're scared you're going to die, so you shouldn't do it. Don't let anybody bully you into going onto things you're scared of. You want it? Okay. Anyway, so I'll tell you why deep down you're not really scared. The reason why deep down you're not really scared is because underneath the roller coaster, so there's a little man and this little man, so he's called the technician. Okay, and it's his job to make sure that everything is okay with the requirements for the world of roller coasters, and he knows that if his roller coaster is not up to par with the guidelines for roller coasters, so he's going to be going to jail for a lot of years because he caused the death of these 500 people, chas v'shalom, and he knows that his future depends on the fact that everything is actually safe. And so you know that he's there, and you know that he would never mess up with your life. And so because you know that he's there, so then you can even enjoy something which is objectively terrifying. Okay, something which is objectively terrifying, because you know that it's under control, so you could just sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay, so this is what it means to know that the Hashem is there, to know that Hashem is taking control of everything. So this is how we save ourselves from anxiety. This is how we save ourselves from worrying about what's going to be. That I don't know what's going to be, but I know that Hashem knows what's going to be. And I know that Hashem didn't forget about me. I know that Hashem has some plan for me, and it's not going to be that He forgot about me. It's not going to be that I can't have that. The story is not going to be and then He died of starvation. The end, like that. And even if He did. Even if he did, so then I know that there was a good reason. There was a good reason. I deserved it. There was a chas v'shalom. There was some that everything that happened is exactly the way it's supposed to be. So I know that there is going to be a happy ending. I know that things are going, because there's actually somebody who cares about me. There's actually somebody who's making sure that things are going to work out precisely the way that they work out. And so that because I know that there is this technician on the bottom, at the top. There's a technician on the top that's making sure that nothing is going to go wrong. So I know that things can't be that bad. Yeah. So this is what saves me from anxiety. There's a beautiful word I heard once, that there's a pasuk in Tehillim. It says that Hashem is Neishen Sheleg Katzamer. Hashem literally means that Hashem gives snow like wool. So literally, I think it means that the David Melech is praising the whiteness of the snow, that it's so beautiful, that it's like the wool of a lamb. I don't really understand what the metaphor is, but on a simple level, he's just talking about the whiteness.
It looks like wool.
But it looks like wool, right? But does that make it more beautiful? Is that that's what I don't really understand? I think snow is beautiful.
Well,
I don't know.
As a shepherd, to him, I guess wool is very
nice. Okay, yeah, fair, okay. But I heard a word that goes like this: that no say shalak katzamer, that the tzamer over here, the wool. You know what the wool is? The wool is your coat.
Your coat?
Your coat. Your winter coat. Your woolen winter coat. And that David Melech is saying like this: Hashem is nice and shalak katzamer. He only gives as much snow as your coat can take. Meaning that He's never going to give you more coldness than you have the ability to warm yourself with. Because otherwise you would freeze to death. And He wouldn't do that. So whenever Hashem is giving you any kind of test, any kind of struggle, so He's only going to give you a struggle that you can overcome. And He's going to give you the will to overcome the snow. So whatever snow you're going through, so Hashem makes sure to also give you the will that's going to keep you warm. That you have the ability to get through this. You have the ability to overcome whatever struggle it is. And Hashem is going to make sure that you have the emotional strength, the mental strength, the physical strength, that whatever it requires to get through a certain situation, so Hashem gives you that strength, because otherwise He wouldn't put you in the situation. Right? I experienced this once in a very sharp way. That like many of you know that my son, so 3 years ago he had a brain tumor, and he lost a lot of his sight. So at the beginning, right after the surgery, so he was completely blind. He was completely blind, and Baruch Hashem, after 7-8 weeks, so he regained his vision, and now Baruch Hashem is able to read, now he's able to run, he's able to live a normal life, Baruch Hashem.
But
not full sight, far from full sight, but he's able. But he can read, Baruch Hashem. And but these 7 weeks, I had no idea. For 7 weeks, nobody gave us any promises. They didn't know, and so it happened to be that we were learning at that time the story of the 7 beggars, and we just got up to the story of the blind beggar. And we were talking about blindness and and he was saying that blindness it's really a bracha, and I was really, and I can attest, Hashem is my witness, that I was completely embracing the possibility that my son is completely blind, and I wasn't bitter, and I wasn't angry, and I was accepting the fact that he's going to have a great life despite everything, and I was good. I passed the test, and it was it was a difficult time, but I completely was good with my emunah. Now, a couple of 6 months later, so we were in the rehab hospital, and I heard about this story about somebody that's actually he's a cousin of a neighbor of mine, and that he had a similar surgery, and he lost his vision, and never came back, and it was, and they didn't understand why, but tachlis, it was over a year since the surgery, and it was nothing. It was completely blind. Nothing. It's complete darkness. And I heard this, and it hurt me very much. It hurt me very, very much. And I felt angry. I felt broken. I felt that this is so wrong. This is so bad. And at some point I caught myself that hold on a second. You were there. You experienced this. You know very well that for 7 weeks this was your story, and you weren't so upset. You weren't so bitter. What's the difference? And then I realized that it's very simple. That for my experience, for my struggle, so Hashem gave me the will. Hashem gave me the strength to go through my test. Hashem doesn't give me the strength to go through everybody else's tests. And that's why I tell people sometimes the people who are very sensitive people, and they have, because they have such big hearts, so they carry, people tell them their stories, people tell them their problems, and it really weighs them down. And certainly the person that's the profession, there's a clinical therapist that's going through, he's hearing everybody's problems, and it's very possible for a person to completely have a breakdown just because I'm carrying so much pain. And the truth is that you weren't meant to carry everybody's pain. You weren't maybe huge tzaddikim, maybe the Mashiach is supposed to carry everybody's pain, but we weren't built to carry everybody's struggles. And in order to keep our sanity, we need to keep focused. We need to make these mental blocks to be able to have these boundaries, to have these walls, to not be focused on all the suffering in the world. Because I promise you, if you're going to focus on all the suffering in the world, so you're not going to have a life. There is enough suffering going on in the entire world to completely break all of us 1,000,000 times over. And so, is that what Hashem wants? Hashem wants us to cry about all the suffering in the world. Hashem wants us to deal with our stuff, and He gives us the strength to deal with our stuff, and then He wants us to do our lives, to live our mission, to live our, and so a person has to know that you have the strength to go through your own struggles, and you have the strength to go. The people that are in your life, of course, Hashem gives you the strength to go through your family struggles and your best friend struggles, but don't think that you have the strength to go through the struggles of the world. That's not the way it works. So Nosen Shalak Katzamar means that Hashem gives us the strength to go through whatever we're going through, because He wouldn't have given us the test if He wouldn't give us the strength to go through it, to succeed, to be victorious in whatever struggle we're going through. So this knowledge that everything is under control, so this is something that gives us, that helps us to keep our sanity. It reminds us that the things are going to work out. It reminds us that there is going to be a happy ending. It reminds us that pain is temporary. It reminds us that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and this is something that it keeps us going whenever we're going through a tough situation. So to know that sometimes it's going to be soon, sometimes it's going to take longer, but there's always a happy ending. That it's completely impossible that Hashem forgot about us because He's that the small technician up there. He never takes a break. He never takes a vacation. Yeah.
So, but then why do people commit suicide?
Because nobody should ever commit suicide. Committing suicide is giving up. Committing suicide is giving up, and we never give up. A yid can never give up. A person that's in a situation that they want to end their life, they need to remember that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And this is a known fact that all pain is temporary. And they need to focus on the fact that there is going to be a happy ending, and they just need patience. And They should speak to people who have gone through the same things that they're going through and have made it out. And those people will, and they should find support groups. They should help. They should remind themselves. They should put themselves into situations to remind themselves that they're not the first one going through this, and there are happy endings, and there will be a happy ending. And this is. They should find meaning. They should realize that I'm going through this because one day I'm going to be the sponsor. I'm going to be the person on the other side. I'm going to be able to talk to somebody who's still suffering and tell them. And I've talked to people who are in like horrible situations. People with like, especially with nerve damage. That it's like the people tell me that they feel like there's constantly like acid being poured all over their eyes, and a horrible pain. And now they're great. Now they're mamish. They were able to persevere. They're able to make it through, and now they're able to be that stronghold, that beacon of hope to the people that are still in the struggle, that haven't made it out yet. But yes, when a person commits suicide, it's an act of giving up, and a person that has emunah cannot give up. A person cannot give up. They need to really It's tragic. It's tragic for people to misread. Like, can you imagine like how dumb he would feel? Like, I mean, everybody that like commits suicide, like the moment after they jump, they feel like. But like, can you imagine if you're working on something for 2 years and you gave up, and somebody after you gave up, you come back and they tell you, like, you're so dumb. You don't realize in another 2 minutes you would have reached your goal. 2 minutes. Like, if they would have heard that, if they would have known that, like of course they would have wanted to live. Of course they would have wanted to. Anybody could take another 2 minutes. The only reason why they give up is because they think it's hopeless, because they think that there is no light, and that's simply false. That there's always light. Okay. Even if there's no light, so we said before that there's pain and suffering, and a lot of the suffering is really something that can be avoided, and you can overcome the suffering, and you can, like, the Rosh Hashiva, Zichron Levrach, Masson Tzvi Finkel. So he lived with tremendous pain. He had severe Parkinson's disease, and he refused to take painkillers because the painkillers would cloud his brain, and despite his extreme pain, he was running the biggest yeshiva in the world, and he was giving 17 classes a week, and he was raising $20 million a year, and he was making every single decision that was going on in the yeshiva. And you think he wasn't happy? He was so happy. It's like when he loved every student. He at weddings he gave us all kisses. And he was a happy person. He was a happy person, a successful person, and I'm positive that he would never give up his life for anything just because it was so good. He knew he was doing so much. He knew that you can live an amazing life despite tremendous pain. So a person that has what?
Who was
Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel. He was my Rosh Hashiva in the Meir Yeshiva. So this is the second point of how Emunah helps us survive, helps us have chayim, helps us that our lives should be real lives. and the third point that I want to speak, the third and last point that I want to speak about tonight is that the reason why a person that has emunah, so his life is a real life, is because deep down we all have this real huge craving to be loved. We have a craving to be cared for. We have a craving that we matter to somebody, and this is something that I think a lot like it's part of the human experience. To this need to feel loved. In fact, like I heard once from some I forgot who it is. Maybe it doesn't matter. Like from some like famous atheist that he was like making fun of people that have emunah, and this was his point, that yeah, I get it, that everybody wishes that there's somebody up in heaven that cares about them, but like Baruch Hashem, he's there. What I took from that was that even the atheists wish that they had a God. And this I've heard I've heard from personally, I've heard from people that grew up with Emunah, and then for whatever something happened and they lost their Emunah, that they literally mourned. They had a grieving period on the lack of Emunah because having a God in their life, having Hashem in their life, they knew that somebody cared about them. They knew that they were loved. They knew that they were cherished. They knew that they were important to somebody, and to suddenly lose that is painful. It's mamish painful. So even the atheists agree that our lives are so much more fulfilling. Our lives are so much more pleasant because we have love in our life, because we know that Hashem loves us, and we know that Hashem cares about us, and so this is mamish an amazing benefit that we have from Emunah. There's something that I once heard from Rabbi Weiber Jacobson that he was talking about something called attachment theory. I'm not an expert on attachment theory, but he was saying this. He was saying this in relevance to a number of things, but he was saying it in relevance to bringing up children. So he was saying how that there's something which is counterintuitive, that children, that when they're young, they feel cared for, and they feel that somebody is looking out for me. So those children, when they naturally mature, that they're able to stand on their own 2 feet. As opposed to parents that, for whatever reason, that their educational belief is that they need to learn how to fend for themselves. It's a harsh world out there. They need to learn how to be adults. I'm not going to take care of them. They have to take care of themselves. And the parents that this is their educational philosophy, that my kids need to learn to fend for themselves. And so the children, they grow up without this feeling that somebody cares about me, without this feeling of being safe. And so it turns out that those kids, their entire lives, they're craving that feeling of being cared for, and they're never able to stand on their own 2 feet. Their entire lives, they're looking back and saying could somebody? They're wishing to be to just cuddle up and somebody just hug them and somebody just take care of them and tell them it's okay. You could have a 60-year-old man that he's still craving that somebody that the mother he never had should just hug him and tell him that it's okay, and because he never got it when he was a kid. So the good news is that we've all got it. The good news is that Hashem loves every one of us. Hashem loves every one of us like his only child, and whenever we look for that hug from Hashem, so he's there for us. And the knowledge that there is a God is the knowledge that we are cared for, is the knowledge that we married to somebody, is the knowledge that there is somebody that when you ask him, tell me, what do you say about this guy? So Hashem will say, he is my favorite person in the entire world. I love him. I can't get enough of him. I just want to eat him up. And that's something the parents say. So that the knowledge that there is a God means that we are loved, that we are cared for. It means that we matter, and that we can constantly access this feeling of being loved, this feeling of mattering, and it's actually the most amazing feeling, the most amazing feeling. This is something that we all crave love. It's a human experience, and Rabbi Noach Weinberg, so he has a class called the 5 levels of pleasure, and so he says that you can divide pleasure into different categories. And so the first category is, the lowest category of pleasure is that all the pleasures that you can buy with money. And so this lower pleasure, so this is all the amazing food you can buy in restaurants, all the best cars and the best homes and the best designer clothing and the best massages and the best entertainment and the best vacations and anything you could buy with money. That's all level 1 pleasure. And there's something which is higher level pleasure than that. And level 2 pleasure, he says, is love. And he said that even a small amount of level 2 pleasure is more pleasant than even an infinite amount of level 1 pleasure. In other words, that if you would have a person that has all the money in the world and all the pleasures that money could buy, but he has no love in his life, so he would give it all up for a little bit of love. And to this idea, he would say an imaginary story that there was once a billionaire that Nebuch, that he didn't have kids, and so he heard about this neighbor that this neighbor of his, so he had a bunch of kids, and he was a poor guy. So because he was so poor, so he was always working. So because he was always working, so he left his house very early, and he got home very late. So he never saw his kids, and he left before they got up. He got up after they were sleeping. So he had no relationship with his kids because he was always working. So one day he gets a knock on the door, and he says, and it's this billionaire. The billionaire goes that, hey, I have a deal for you. Baruch Hashem, I have billions of dollars, but I don't have any kids. You have lots of kids, but what do you need your kids? You have no relationship with your kids. You're working, so I have a great deal for you. I'll give you $500 million just for one kid. And it's win-win. You're not losing anything because you don't know your kid. You never say hello to him. So at least now you can appreciate the other kids. Right. So of course the guy slams the door on the guy's face, right? But Rabbi Weinberg says, what happens after he slams the door? After he slams the door on the guy's face, then I'll tell you what he does. He walks into his kid's bedroom, and he looks at every one of his kids, and he says, "Which one am I going to pick?" He says, "I gave up $500 million for you." And it really caused him to reassess everything. He knows that every bit of love, and the tiny bit of love, it's not tiny, it's awesome, the awesome amount of love that his 8th kid gives him over his 7 first kids, that amount of love is worth way more than $500 million. And so he's so crazy. How could he possibly give it up? How could he possibly live a life that he's not having a relationship with his kids? And so it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call to know that love is so precious. Love is so precious. It's so much more precious than anything that money could buy. So a person that feels the pleasure of being loved, that feels the pleasure of being loved. So it's the most awesome experience in life. Right? So one of the things that Hashem offers us with the knowledge that we have a God is that, like Hashem says, "Ahavti eschem amar Hashem," that I love you, that you're my children, you're the sparkle of my eye, and I adore you, and I care about you, and you matter, and I just to know that, to walk through life, that somebody believes in me, that somebody cares about me. So this is what gives us our self-confidence. This is what gives us our self-esteem. This is what gives us our self-value. This is what gives us our self-love. And this is what allows us to have much more pleasant lives. So Baruch Hashem, that Hashem gives us Emunah. And this is like I said, that we get out of it much more than he gets out of it. And through the knowledge and through and I said before, there's something to have a consciousness about. That a person could be 1,000% religious and be practically atheist and not really, not allow these ideas to change the way that he carries himself, and to be 1,000% anxious and 1,000% bitter and 1,000% unloved and unworthy, but Baruch Hashem, it's in our hands, and we're able to switch this lever inside of us, and just remind ourselves that there is a God, and everything is under control, and we are loved, and it's going to be awesome. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, l'chaim.